How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 24. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much to everybody for coming back and listening to another podcast. If this is your first time listening, well, welcome. Again, my name is Victor. What I like to do on these podcasts is really just talk about a new movie that I recently saw either in theaters or streaming. And I like to just kind of give a quick review, initial thoughts, why I wanted to watch it, what were some of my favorite scenes. And then last but not least, I asked myself the important question: is this movie timeless? For me, a timeless movie is really just a film that I could rewatch over and over and over again. Just to throw out some examples, some of my favorite timeless movies are Jurassic Park, The Dark Knight, Inception, all these different types of films. Again, they vary from different types of genres. Is it fair for, movies after one viewing, if you can determine if they're timeless? Probably not. It's probably not a good idea to do, but I like to do it anyway, just to kind of see again, what are those films that after one viewing, it kind of just blows me away and makes me think, I can't wait to watch it again. For today's episode, we're going to be covering the first new Marvel film of 2022, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I have been pretty hyped to see this film after we watched No Way Home in December, and it's kind of now just coming all together now, all these different types of ideas of multiverse, it literally is in the title, Multiverse of Madness. So I was already hyped. So let's go ahead and jump in and start off with some of the reasons why I wanted to watch this movie. If this is your first time joining us on this specific podcast, you're going to find out really quickly that I am very much into the superhero genre, and I'm a big fan of Marvel movies as well. So just starting it right off the bat, it's Marvel related, so I had to go see this movie. I've already invested so much of my time from the first Iron Man movie that came out in theaters all the way up to Endgame, and I'm not going to stop here. For a lot of folks, they kind of peaked at their Endgame. They're like, you know what? I feel like the story is complete. I'm all done with Marvel. Not me. For me, it's like, okay, after Endgame, this is only the beginning now, right? It can only get crazier from here. And so that's one of the reasons why, again, I wanted to keep watching these Marvel films and see, again, how can they be different from prior entries into the MCU? Second reason I wanted to watch it was Multiverse. Again, we started kind of dipping into that specific aspect of the film after No Way Home, where we have, spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, but you started seeing different iterations of characters from different universes. Not only do we have Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but now they brought back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as their Spider-Mans. We also got to see the villains from other universes come into the MCU. And so that was our first taste. And now here in this film, again, calling it out right in the title, Multiverse of Madness. What the heck does that mean? How crazy is this film gonna get? How, what kind of universes are we gonna see? What kind of different Doctor Stranges are we gonna be able to see as we go along this film? And so that kind of concept, again, for me, I've always loved it. A lot of folks, might not really be into that kind of idea or concept of a multiverse, having the same characters and, different kind of choices that they've made. I'm all for it. I love that kind of concept. And so I'm all in for that kind of idea within this specific Doctor Strange film. Other reason I wanted to watch it was because Wanda Maximoff, again, played by Elizabeth Olsen, what was going to be her role in the movie? The last time we saw her was in WandaVision. It was a great show on Disney+. If you have not seen it, definitely go check it out. You're probably going to have to watch it just to kind of get the understanding and the background of where Wanda's mind is at this point of the specific MCU film. But really, what was she going to do? She, at the end of the WandaVision, again, spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen it, she gave off these kind of vibes where she was using this book called The Darkhold, and it seemed like she was trying to use it to her advantage to find her children, the children that she basically invented in her own hex world. And so it almost gave me vibes at the end of the WandaVision show that she was probably going to be turning to the dark side, almost become a villain. But where she was going to appear, not really sure until I saw the trailers, and you see Wanda there with Wong, with Doctor Strange, and it just kind of gave off these vibes again of the Scarlet Witch, maybe even being the antagonist to Doctor Strange. And so, again, I really was intrigued by what was Wanda's role in this specific film before actually checking it out as well. Other reason I wanted to go check out Multiverse of Madness was some of the trailers that they had been showing. I honestly, did not want to watch too much trailers because I wanted to kind of keep everything very much of a secret. I didn't want to be spoiled of different things, especially again with the concept and the idea of Multiverse of Madness. I already knew that they were going to show out different things, different characters, different variants of characters we know, and so I wanted to keep everything very, very secretive, and so I purposely didn't watch too many trailers. Obviously, I go to different types of movie theaters and they show the Doctor Strange trailers, so I was kind of forced to watch some of them. But there was one where they would show off this group, and you didn't see any of their faces, but you could hear a voice, and that voice was that of Charles Xavier, from the X-Men. And, he's basically saying, should we tell him the truth? And so you're like, okay, what the hell is this truth? Why is there a secretive group here? Who are the other members involved? And that alone, again, just piqued my interest even more for this movie. And then I think finally, one of the final reasons, besides just my bias about this movie, was would the multiverse end with this film? We started getting a taste of it not only in No Way Home, as I'm starting to remember, we also got a taste of the multiverse in Loki. We got to see He Who Remains, who's basically Kang in this specific MCU universe. We got to see different variants of Loki. And so would this concept of the multiverse continue to go on after this film? Or is this a way of like Doctor Strange being that solution to kind of close things up? So really was curious as to how the movie is going to end and if that was going to keep it as really a loose end to kind of show you, hey, we're not done here from a multiverse perspective. All right, those are my thoughts on why I wanted to check out this movie. Let's go ahead and jump in to my detailed thoughts and what really were my impressions of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Okay, everybody, it has been 2 weeks since I went to go see it. I wanted to give some time for folks, again, that haven't gotten a chance to see it because I am going to go into spoiler warnings in this podcast. So if you have not checked out the movie, feel free to, leave the podcast, watch the movie theaters, come back, and then kind of get a good understanding as to what I'm going to be explaining. And then let me know what your thoughts are on the film after you watch it as well. But let's go ahead and jump in. Again, spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen it. I was able to go see it at Dolby Cinema opening night. I had to be one of the first to kind of go see it because I just didn't want to be spoiled by the internet. And so I was able to go see it 2 weeks ago. And I gotta say, it was freaking awesome. I liked it so much, I went to go see it twice. And again, it's just a really great film. I really appreciated the visual effects and the colors that were used throughout the film. Again, just like the first Doctor Strange, if you had a chance to see that one, they use so many different colors and so many different variations of effects that it just was such a trippy kind of film that's so different from the rest of the MCU. And they did the exact same kind of concept here as well. They kind of showed different types of visuals. They showed off colors of the different types of multiverses that Doctor Strange was able to go through. And again, it's just so pleasing to watch, and especially on a big screen as well. It's just so awesome to kind of see. So definitely a plus for that specific aspect, which is, the visual effects of the specific film. Now, other things that I really appreciated about this film was Wanda Maximoff. I'll talk a little bit later about her role and her performance, Elizabeth Olsen really, but my goodness, she was so freaking scary in the movie. Sam Raimi directed the movie, so props to Sam Raimi for, again, filming another superhero movie, this time Doctor Strange in the MCU. But he did a great job to bring in the horror elements and really make this the first horror movie for the MCU. Now, is it a full-blown horror movie like you would think of Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street? No, but it definitely has a different vibe than typical, happy-go-lucky Marvel movies. Now, that's not taking away from any other Marvel movie. It still has its jokes and its one-liners in the dialogue, but there's definitely a lot of jump scares that are there. And again, the way that they represented Wanda in this movie was just so awesome. She just had this terrifying look. And once again, spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen the movie, but Wanda Maximoff and her role in this film is basically the antagonist. She is really the threat that goes up against Doctor Strange and Wong in order to, again, find a way to get her children back at all cost, even if it's at the cost of the entire multiverse. So the way they represented Wanda in this film was amazing. Again, she was really that threat, And she showed off why she is the strongest character in the MCU. She is basically able to take on any type of challenge. So really great job. They did Wanda really well, and it just kind of keeps showing how the character can continue evolving after multiple films, starting from Age of Ultron when Elizabeth Olsen first came out, all the way up into now Multiverse of Madness, and how her character arc has just again progressed from a young kid all the way to now a mother who just wants to do whatever it takes to find her children as well. I mentioned it a little bit before, but I knew that there was going to be some horror elements just because of, again, the director, Sam Raimi. But again, it had really good jump scares. There was a couple of moments where it kind of, didn't scare me full on, made me scream or anything. But there was a lot of different moments where it just kind of catches you off guard. And it's just like all these different types of elements, again, of horror that we haven't seen before from the Marvel Universe. And so, again, it's just a great change of pace. And it just kind of shows, again, that there's different elements that we can still tap into the MCU that we haven't done so already, right? A lot of that has been, action driven and going through the stories of our characters. But, now we can start delving into a little bit more, especially as the MCU continues to expand and grow. More directors will have different ideas. So, again, let's definitely tap into more of that horror element because it just seems so cool in this movie as well. Now, a couple of other kind of things that I wanted to go through was really, the general story of the film. Again, I'm not going to spoil too much about what went on with the movie because I do want to have you guys experience it if you haven't seen it. Again, you probably just want to get an idea. But really, the film takes place in really the realm of Doctor Strange. He's kind of going through and he encounters this character called America Chavez. She is apparently a multiversal traveler. Her ability, really, her power is that she has the power to traverse different multiverses. And so she's basically being chased by these demons and these weird creatures, and she ends up getting the help of Doctor Strange and Wong. And so now Doctor Strange is really now put in this position where he has to basically help America Chavez try to, again, find a solution as to who is trying to track her down and stop that threat from, chasing after her. Like I mentioned before, we find out that antagonist is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. She is using the Darkhold in order to find America Chavez, use her power of traversing the multiverse, and being able to find a universe where her children are alive and she can become their mother. And so again, she's going to do it at all costs. She murders and kills so many different people in this film. It is unreal, the slaughter that she does. And there's a couple of deaths that I'll talk about a little bit later that just blew me away. But again, that's really the point of the story. It's really, two sides of it. One side is Doctor Strange and him trying to really face his fears and determine, hey, even though in my life, and what he ends up realizing in the different multiverses where he sees, other Doctor Stranges, he realizes that in every universe, he always messes it up with Christine, that one love that he's had since the beginning of the first Doctor Strange film. Just to kind of throw it off right there at the beginning of this Multiverse of Madness film, he actually goes to Christine's wedding. And so again, in every single universe, he is not able to capture and be with Christine. And so that's kind of the challenge that he faces, and he ends up, again, evolving throughout the film, is that, he's always been scared to accept other people in relationships. He's always been kind of scared to kind of have that next level with, relationship with somebody else. And so he ends up realizing, again, going through the different multiverses and even meeting a different Christine from a different multiverse to understand, hey, even though you don't get what you want from this relationship with Christine, you do have to at least learn to face your fears and open up to other people. And then eventually you'll have those types of relationships that you want. I might be misreading all of that. I might be totally off on that. But again, from my perspective, that's kind of what Doctor Strange's story was in this film, is that obviously not only helping America Chavez and keeping her safe, but also understanding that, hey, I just have to face these fears in order to kind of grow. And the only way I'm going to do that is, again, just facing it head on as well. The second part of this story, I think, is really revolved in what I thought is really Wanda's story. I actually thought that the film really revolved a lot around Wanda, and again, how was she going to be able to be with her kids? She was going to do whatever it takes. If it meant getting rid of the Sorcerer Supreme and Wong or killing Doctor Strange, she was going to do that. No matter how many universes she tore down, she was going to try to find a way to be with her children. And so she basically goes throughout the story and again finds different routes. The Darkhold is something that actually gets destroyed throughout the film. And basically with Wong's knowledge as the Sorcerer Supreme, he actually knows that there's a mountain called Mount Wundagore, I'm going to say. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that. But basically it's a mountain that contains the scribes on the walls of the Darkhold. So the Darkhold apparently was just a book that was a copy. These walls in Mount Wundagore are actually the true Darkhold spells, and that's where Wanda has to end up in order to obtain, again, America Chavez's power, and then basically become a being that can go into other multiverses and be with the children that she basically loves and created as well. So what's even crazier is that it's only a 2-hour movie, so everything just kind of feels very quick and to the point. No scene is really wasted, and again, I really enjoyed my time watching it. Again, I mentioned it a little bit before, but I watched it twice. So it was just a great story, great from beginning to end. I would say that there's a couple nitpicks, and these are definitely just on my side personally. A couple of nitpicks. One is selfishly, I wanted more multiverse. We did get to see a lot of different types of Doctor Stranges. We saw one that was like a Defender Strange. We saw one that was in one of the multiverses that, died defeating Thanos. We also saw one that was a Sinister Strange that was using the Darkhold in bad ways. And so we definitely got to visit a lot of different multiverses. But me, just again, selfishly and just because of the title and what it calls out, I would have loved to see other universes. Not specifically like, okay, cameos and different variants of different characters. Not necessarily that, but I did want to see more, universes very similar to ours, but have few changes, right? We got to basically see like 2 or 3 universes where, again, Doctor Strange, existed in there, but he obviously looked a little bit different. I want to see more kind of jumping with America Chavez and her ability, right? Show us a little bit more about these wacky, crazy worlds. Show us a little bit more about what's out there in the universe and in all these cosmic entities as well, right? I want to see more of that craziness. So again, more of a selfish thing on my side. Definitely did not take away from what we saw. I still enjoyed the universes that we were able to see. Just wanted a little bit more. Also, I would have really appreciated, again, more of a selfish thing. I would have loved the movie to be a bit longer. Again, it felt so fast. Not saying that it was rushed or anything, but I did feel like if there was a couple more minutes in the film, a couple more scenes showing, the different types of multiverses, again, going back to my one nitpick of basically seeing other universes, if we were able to kind of show more off of that, again, I thought it would just make the film, I would have loved the film even more. Again, those are just personal nitpicks. That's not taken away, and that's not me saying that, oh, this is the reason why I don't, like the film at all. Nope, I still love the film. I still thought it was a great experience, and I really enjoyed the story overall of really Doctor Strange helping America Chavez throughout her journey of being followed by the Scarlet Witch. All right, guys, those are my detailed thoughts. Again, I really enjoyed both visits to the theaters. I'll even say it. I think the second time I enjoyed it even more than the first time, just because, again, I already knew what was coming in the film. I knew all the jump scares. I knew all my favorite scenes were coming. So it just made that whole experience a lot better. Even the music, I was actually surprised that Danny Elfman was involved in creating the music for Multiverse of Madness. So it was definitely an awesome, awesome time checking it out in the theaters, and I highly recommend everybody kind of go check out the movie if you haven't seen it already. Okay, now that we've kind of talked about the detailed thoughts, I want to talk about my favorite performance of the movie. Hands down, I have to give it to Elizabeth Olsen. She had the best performance as Wanda Maximoff or / the Scarlet Witch. She basically had to portray the monster and the antagonist in this film, and she did it so well. I mean, we start off again with her being, the mom, that we saw at WandaVision, and you see her with her kids, and so she's portraying again this very sweet and nice woman, and then all of a sudden, boom, it changes, and then she wakes up and she realizes that that universe, she doesn't live in that universe. She lives in a universe where she's lost everything. She's lost Vision twice. She's lost her kids that she made up. She's lost her brother. She's lost her family. She's lost everything in this MCU universe. The world has just put her down. So there was no other choice. There was no other route but her having to become this Scarlet Witch and find a way to make life suitable for herself. And so Elizabeth Olsen did such an incredible job to, again, portray herself so different from other versions. Like, even when she first came out in Age of Ultron, she was not, she wasn't scary. She had this kind of crazy power to basically possess and show different visions, dark visions for the Avengers in Age of Ultron. But even then, it wasn't scary. Here, oh man, she would give off these looks that were just so sinister. And again, she would come out. There was different scenes where, again, credit to Sam Raimi for creating these horror elements. And I think it was perfect using Scarlet Witch to do that and portray that. But there was scenes where you have the Scarlet Witch trying to track down America Chavez, and then she's actually using reflections to be able to find her. And the Doctor Strange, Wong, and America Chavez start kind of covering up puddles of reflections of water. And then all of a sudden you see her kind of come out of a mirror of a reflection. And it's kind of like looking like The Ring or The Exorcist, kind of contorting her body in a weird ways. It was so crazy. And then again, just her demeanor and her presence in the film, every time she was on screen, you just kind of were mesmerized by, again, how scary she was. And you had to take her seriously, because if not, again, she would destroy anybody in her path. So she was just on a tear in the movie. Credit to Elizabeth Olsen. Again, she did an amazing job as the Scarlet Witch. And again, one of my favorite parts, and one of probably the recommendation of why I would push people to watch the movies, just for her performance, because she just, again, put on a show. And it just shows, again, how scary and how much her character has evolved, right? It doesn't always kind of stay the exact same consistent performance throughout the different movies. She still shows that she has different layers for the Scarlet Witch as well. Also, got to give a shout out to Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. He always puts on a great performance, and he's a great actor as well. Just in this case, I feel like Elizabeth Olsen just kind of highlighted how great she was as the Scarlet Witch. But again, not taking that away from Benedict Cumberbatch, he still did amazing as Doctor Strange as well. All right, everybody. Now I think I've come to my favorite part, I think, of this specific episode of the podcast, and it's my favorite scene. Big time spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen the film. I definitely do not want to ruin this one moment. So definitely leave the podcast if you have not seen the film, because I'm going to jump into some big time spoilers. But my favorite scene of this film is when they introduce the Illuminati. So the Illuminati is a group in the multiverse. Apparently this multiverse is 838, I want to say. I might be wrong on that, but basically it's the different types of multiverses that exist in the MCU. The one that we've seen so far in the, with all the characters we know, like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, that our Earth is basically 616. And so here in this multiverse, this Earth is called 838, and it includes the Illuminati, which is a secret group consisting of, I'm going to start naming the characters, which is Black Bolt, the leader of the Inhumans. You have Captain Marvel, but it is not Carol Danvers. It is actually Maria Rambeau, which is Monica Rambeau's mom. She actually, in this universe, becomes Captain Marvel. Then you have Peggy Carter as Captain Carter. So they actually pulled the What If character and made her in live action. And Haley Atwell came back and played her, and it was so awesome. She looked exactly like the What If character. You also had Baron Mordo. And in this universe, Baron Mordo actually is the Sorcerer Supreme. And then you also have the character of, and they finally revealed it, Reed Richards, which is played by John Krasinski. That probably got the loudest pop in my theater. It was such an awesome moment. He now basically has been fan casted for so many years, but he basically came out as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. And then last but not least, they highlighted Charles Xavier. And they even had him in the animated series, kind of wheelchair, all yellow, green suit. And they even had the music when he came out. It was like, it was so awesome. That got, again, the second loudest pop of the theater that I got. But I hope I didn't forget anybody else from the Illuminati there. But I don't think I did. But it was just, oh man, it was an incredible moment. They highlighted that Illuminati group, and then they kind of gave the breakdown of Stephen Strange and, what happened to that Strange in their universe, and how they really called out the threat that basically Doctor Strange is the biggest threat to all the different multiverses. And so that was actually one of my favorite scenes that they kind of highlighted in the film. But really, it's actually what happens after. So Wanda is able to basically use this ability on the Darkhold called Dreamwalking. So basically what that allows her to do is basically control the conscience and the body of the Wanda that lives in the 838 universe. Is this confusing? Probably is, but you'll get it if you've seen the movie. And so she's able to basically corrupt the Wanda in that 838 multiverse universe, and basically use that body to go into the Illuminati and try to find America Chavez. And so what she ends up doing and what ensues is probably one of the craziest moments in the MCU. And what she does is basically goes into the Illuminati and kills every single one of those characters. Black Bolt, if you're not aware, his power is basically he can whisper, he can talk, and he uses his voice as his weapon. So if he mutters any word, he basically kills and vaporizes anybody. And what Wanda ends up doing is basically taking his mouth away. Very similar to the Matrix scene that happens to Neo when his mouth basically goes away. That's exactly what happened to the Black Bolt. And then he gets so panicked that he ends up trying to make a noise with his mouth gone, and it ends up exploding his brain. Exploding his brain. I don't think we've ever seen such a graphic death in the MCU, but that one probably takes the cake. It was unbelievable, and that's just the beginning. Next is John Krasinski's Reed Richards. He reaches out and starts kind of, his arm kind of, it becomes an elastic arm, obviously, and kind of stretches out. And basically what the Scarlet Witch does is it starts shredding him into little pieces and pieces and pieces until only his head is left, and then his head just pops. Boom, that's it of Reed Richards, he's gone. And so she just starts tearing down every member of the Illuminati. Next, she ends up getting Captain Carter's shield and actually throws it back at her and cuts her in two. Done. We don't see Captain Carter anymore. And then finally, you think that Captain Marvel, which is again Maria Rambeau, thinks that again she's probably the strongest character in that Illuminati group. She starts going one-on-one against the Scarlet Witch. What ends up happening? Scarlet Witch ends up overpowering her and basically blowing her off to the specific wall of the Illuminati building, and then brings down a statue on her and crushes her and kills her. Last but not least, she ends up twisting the neck of Charles Xavier, not in real life, but in his own mind. He obviously using Charles Xavier's ability, he has the ability to kind of go into somebody's mind and telepathically and trying to help Wanda escape the nightmare that she's in with this Scarlet Witch. Instead, it backfires. She comes out with a nice jump scare and twists the neck of Charles Xavier. He dies as well. I was just blown away and it was just such a smart move to show off how strong and dangerous the Scarlet Witch is. That again, no matter what universe it is, whether it's the Avengers, it's S.H.I.E.L.D., if it's Illuminati, it doesn't matter who it is. The Scarlet Witch was going to take down anybody that crossed her path. And it was a beautiful scene. I love the way they again introduced all these cool characters, and then boom, all of a sudden they're gone. Oh man, it was awesome. I loved it, and it just made me appreciate the Scarlet Witch even more as well. Second favorite scene, just to kind of throw out an honorable mention, there's actually a cool battle between Doctor Strange and this evil Sinister Strange, where they end up kind of doing these different types of magic attacks. But what's so funny about it is that they actually use musical notes on different types of sheets of paper, and they actually use the notes to kind of hit each other. And what's so cool about it is that the music playing in the background of that battle is actually the notes that are being seen as magic attacks. It was so funny. It was so weird and so different that I was like, I appreciate it because it was so creative. I don't think we've ever seen a sorcerer battle where they use, musical notes as their attacks as well. So if you've seen that scene, definitely let me know what your thoughts are. Did you think it was weird? Did you think it was cool? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, everybody, I'm going to make this one very quick, but my next segment is, would I recommend watching it in theaters or streaming? as you can probably tell, I really enjoyed this movie, so I 100% recommend to go see it in theaters. No matter if it's standard or Dolby, check it out. Go to the big screen, watch it. There's so many different colors, so many different aspects, and again, going into the different multiverses just kind of changes the way that the movie is kind of presented. So definitely go check it out in a movie theater. And I think the sound again would make it even more of an epic when you're watching it. If you can't do it, no problem. And not saying that that's the only way to experience it. Again, if you really just can't, definitely wait for it on Disney Plus. But I would recommend, again, if you have a local theater near you, if you have a Dolby Cinema, or if you have, IMAX or whatever it is, definitely go check out this movie. Again, there's just the way that the visuals were presented. Sam Raimi and the team did such a great job. And again, I really enjoyed my time watching it in theaters. I'm even kind of tempted to go watch it in 4DX just because, again, it's just so much craziness going on in the movie that I want to experience it one more time in a different type of theater as well. All right, everybody. Now we've got into the last segment, which is, do I consider this movie timeless? I'm going to say yes, it is a timeless movie for me. Am I biased? Of course I am. I love the superhero genre. I love Marvel. But honestly, I enjoyed the story. Again, I enjoyed the story of Wanda, a woman really trying to go through life and stop feeling the pain, right? Stop feeling the grief. She wants to go to a universe where she can be happy and live the rest of her life like that with her children. And so we see her kind of going through those steps as she tries to absorb and use the power of America Chavez. We see Doctor Strange again grow as a character as well, as we see more and more layers added to his character, where now again he knows that he's never going to be able to get Christine no matter what universe he goes into, but he's going to have to accept that and be happy and face the fears that he's been facing his whole life. And so again, the story just goes really well. I didn't call it out as well. I really like the America Chavez character as well. I thought she had really good connections with Doctor Strange. They didn't have that many interactions, but again, they did kind of come out in various different scenes. And so again, I really appreciated her character. I can't wait to see where she comes out again, because again, she's going to be probably an integral part if they continue to discuss about the multiverse in these different types of films. I talked about it extensively, but again, that scene with the Illuminati and Scarlet Witch taking them all down, that alone, I think that scene is what probably motivates me to watch this film one more time. It's just such a crazy scene. You just don't expect it. Man, I loved it. I loved every second of that specific scene when they were in that multiverse. Also, gotta call it out one more time. The different horror elements that Sam Raimi and the team were able to put in there, just really good. Again, it just kind of gives a different types of feeling from a typical Marvel movie. You have, again, these different types of jump scares and these horror elements, and you're just not really sure like what the heck is going on, what's real, what's not. So definitely recommend, again, if you like those kind of horror elements, you're definitely gonna at least enjoy this film. Now, am I saying that it's like, up there with one of the scariest movies of all time? No, that's not the intent, but there's definitely some gruesome deaths. There's some, crazy jump scares and some crazy sinister looks that some of the characters give off. And it's just so cool to kind of see that in a Marvel movie as well. Guys, those are my thoughts on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I have talked extensively about this movie. There's obviously so much more to you can get into, but I really want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on the Multiverse of Madness? Did you like the film? Is it timeless? Let me know down below in the comments. That way we can interact and go through some of our favorite moments as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for staying this long and listening. I appreciate everybody coming to this episode of the podcast. I had a great time watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I cannot wait for the next Marvel movie, which is going to be Thor: Love and Thunder. That one comes out in July. But we'll have some time to kind of talk about that one. But again, appreciate everybody joining. My name has been Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 24 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next week as we cover another movie and determine whether it is timeless or not. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your week.